In the gambling capital of the world, one Las Vegas casino hotel is about to become the biggest show in town.
At 2:22 and 15 seconds.
In a demolition gamble, a family of demolition experts are either about to go bust.
If someone was to come in here and step on this right now, it would be coming down on our heads.
Or hit the jackpot.
It comes apart literally like a house of cards.
For the demolition team, it's more than their reputations on the table. It's their lives. Can their demolition experience bring this hotel casino down?
Are you with your fire equipment?
Will it fall to plan? Or on the billion-dollar super casinos next door? Las Vegas, USA. Destination of gamblers, thrill seekers, and for the next 7 days, demolition experts. The owners of the New Frontier Hotel want it demolished to make way for a new multi-billion-dollar casino complex. To do the job, they've hired one of the best in the business, the family-run Controlled Demolition Incorporated from Maryland, USA. Mark Loiseau heads up this unique family business, designing and overseeing the implosion plan. In an industry where lives are at stake, he likes to know who he's working with. That's why wife Sherry and daughters Devon and Stacy are alongside him on most jobs. The schedule is tight. Every day the old casino stands, the new owners lose millions of dollars of potential revenue. They want it down in just 7 days' time. The Frontier's slot machines fell silent 4 months ago, sealing the fate of one of the oldest buildings on the Strip. 16 stories high, it is a blip on the modern Las Vegas skyline. Dwarfed by the shopping mecca of the fashion show Mall, dream casinos, and not least, the 64-story Trump Tower Las Vegas. It's brand new and it's all glass. In this sea of windows, the Frontier presents a major challenge. Mark normally demolishes buildings using gravity and momentum. So, the shorter the building, the harder it is to drop. The Frontier is short, long, and narrow. The building's natural tendency is to drop forwards, but Mark wants it to drop sideways into a small fall zone, away from neighboring buildings. For the plan to work, Mark needs dynamite to explode the supporting walls from north to south in sequence. As the last explosions go off, cabling installed by the crew will tighten and drag over the far south wall onto the rest of the structure. If the plan works, debris will be kept away from the billion-dollar real estate surrounding the hotel. It won't be Controlled Demolition's first gamble in Vegas.
You know how circus groups travel together? You know, this is sort of, it's the same thing. It's like family, the whole family does this, and they go from one place to the next. Instead of being, circus performers, they're sort of the Grim Reaper of buildings.
In all, CDI has dispatched 20 structures on 12 casino properties, 10 in the last 5 years alone.
Mark Loiseau says he has a plan to knock down anything on the Strip. And then when I said to him, I said, you got a plan to knock down the Bellagio? And he's like, I could do it. Like, well, yeah, but probably not for quite a long time. It's like, you never know in Vegas.
For the plan to work, there's a lot to do. The team need to drill holes to hold the dynamite, install the steel cables which will drag the building over, and gut the whole hotel down to its concrete shell. But the biggest job will be to weaken the interior walls to allow the building to collapse. Only after this work is complete can the team load the explosives. With the plan laid out, the crews get to work.
And find the highest horizontal bar. So we got to figure that out to determine how high we can take this. Because we don't want to take out that horizontal reinforcement.
Preparing the site is the job of project manager and CDI veteran Kevin Klass. His first challenge is to strategically weaken the interior walls. Called concrete masonry units, or CMUs for short, these support walls are made of concrete blocks reinforced with steel bars known as rebar. They make for incredibly strong walls that not only divide up rooms, but hold up the floors that the team are standing on.
And they're physically sitting on these walls is what's supporting them. So you certainly don't want to take out an area that would leave this precast panel in limbo. So that's why we have to go do some math and figure out what to leave and where they can sit, and still essentially accomplish our goal by isolating the column.
The team has calculated that they must remove 30% of the walls, leaving 70% intact. Any more, and the whole building could collapse, taking the team with it.
I'm going to take this panel completely out. If that's the case? Yeah, but we would leave this block in.
The CMUs cause another problem. The team are unable to complete a critical step of a normal demolition, a test shot. A test shot is used to find out how the building reacts to specific explosives, helping the team decide how much explosives to use and where to place them. But demolition designer Marc Loiseau is nervous about doing one on the frontier.
If you try to test shoot a CMU wall, you run the risk of losing a panel. If you lose a panel, you might lose more than one panel, you get a progressive failure. I'm just not comfortable doing test blasts in this type of construction.
The walls are unpredictable, and the entire building could come down around them if they proceed.
Just do that. We'll take out that and we'll leave a leg back there, but I'll put tape on it.
Without a test shot, the team will effectively be working blind in a 16-story building packed with explosives. Las Vegas, USA. A demolition team are preparing the new Frontier Hotel for destruction. One of the oldest buildings on the Strip, it isn't prepared to go without a fight. Once owned by billionaire Howard Hughes, the Frontier was the setting for Elvis Presley's first Vegas performance, and also hosted the last ever performance of Diana Ross and the Supremes. But despite those top names, the Frontier was never the most glamorous hotel on the Strip.
The Frontier is a tricky one because the Frontier has always been a troubled property. When this hotel disappears, there are very few people who are going to be crying over it.
Not least the developer behind the neighboring casino complex, billionaire Steve Wynn.
He talked about having his hotel across the Frontier as if he was being punished, and he referred to it as the single biggest toilet in Las Vegas.
The demolition team is working hard to remove the eyesore. They need to quickly gut the building right down to the bare walls, removing all fixtures and fittings.
But if you implode it with all that stuff, then you get a mixture of drywall, mixture of carpet, concrete, metal, pipes, and in the end, it's hard to clean up with the machines.
They're using a specially equipped digger.
Make sure he's getting it up high.
Its claw-like bucket makes short work of the fittings.
So that's why you want to gut it out to leave it just concrete. So when it comes down, it's just concrete that we're dealing with, not metal, not trash.
This preparation work allows the contractor to recycle the concrete debris after the demolition. But in the demolition industry, anything can go wrong anytime. On the ground floor, at the foot of the support wall, the team has hit a setback. Thick steel rebar. The original plan did not account for this much steel reinforcement, and without a new plan of attack, the building will not come down. Mark had expected to find rebar evenly spaced and each with a diameter of 19 millimeters. But at the front here, the rebar has been bunched together and each bar is twice as thick as he planned. Mark has real concerns that even dynamite could not demolish these internal walls.
I've got to get enough energy inside this rebar cage to bend this rebar in a vertical situation, even with the concrete removal, hold this end of the structure up.
With only a week until the Frontier Hotel Casino is demolished, the team have been dealt a bad hand. And they still need to drill individual holes for each of the 5,000 sticks of dynamite needed to demolish the hotel. The man in charge of that job is Craig Keyes. The other workers give him a lot of respect.
Craig Keyes is one of the finest drillers I've ever seen. He's smart. He doesn't run the drill so much as he lets the drill run itself and guides the drill.
Craig and his team must drill each hole to a precise depth in order for the dynamite to properly explode. It's a tough job.
He won't say anything, but I know he feels it, but he's just tough. Tough guy, good guy. I ask him who he is, and he says, just describe me as 250 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. And I just walk away at that point. That's all I need. He's a good driller.
With drilling underway, other team members can start to install another vital part of Mark's plan, the cabling. There are 16 support walls within the structure, 8 to the front and 8 to the rear. All will be loaded with dynamite, except the south walls. These will be dragged over. For the plan to work, the team needs to wrap cables around the outside of the south wall and clamp it to the first major support, the elevator shaft. Mark has calculated cabling needs to be installed on just 2 floors, the 4th and the 8th. On demolition day, Mark will trigger explosions at intervals, moving from north to south. As the building collapses, enormous tension will be placed on the cables, pulling the south wall inwards, away from neighboring buildings. With work well underway in the hotel, the team must also clear the site, removing one of the hotel wings from the fall zone. The wing is only 3 stories high and wood-framed, so the team can use an excavator to tear it down. But just as they begin, workers discover asbestos, a toxic substance which must be removed before any work can begin. It's a painstakingly slow job. All of the asbestos must be bagged, tagged, sealed, and removed by hand. With daytime temperatures reaching 30 degrees and crews wearing biohazard suits, the work is hot, sweaty, and difficult. But there are no shortcuts. The team must complete the job properly. If they don't, asbestos will be released during the demolition and become airborne. Anyone inhaling it would risk long-term lung damage.
Yeah.
It's just one more hazard for Kevin Klass to talk through with the Frontier's neighbors.
How you been, sir? I've been doing well. Depends on how this meeting goes.
With the Trump and Wynn hotels and the fashion show shopping mall sitting uncomfortably close to the blast zone, dust and debris are major concerns.
Those are the big issues for me, is just structural, just vibration as far as what it's going to do to potentially damaging tenants, merchandise.
A dust cloud hangs over the discussions.
A, how much dust, then B, how long does it take to settle?
Massive intake fans for the air conditioning units line the roofs of each building. If the demolition dust was sucked in, the ventilation system could be damaged and dust spewed throughout the complex. To prevent that, on implosion night, air intakes will be shut down and fans wrapped in protective fabric. But wind is still a concern. Too little can be as dangerous as too much. When CDI blew up the Stardust Hotel in 2007, it created the worst dust the team had ever seen. The culprit was a freak weather condition where relative humidity had fallen to just 2.5%. With no moisture in the air to help settle the dust, a huge cloud hung in the air for 45 minutes. So the neighbors have every reason to worry.
That was cool. That was cool.
CDI has had to pay an $80,000 damage deposit to make sure any dust is cleaned up.
You know, everybody wants a piece of something.
There are also concerns about the dynamite. With the Frontier needing 5,000 sticks of explosives to bring it down, the Las Vegas Fire Department wants to know it'll be stored securely. With less than 24 hours till the explosives arrive, super tough, lockable steel containers are being installed in the most secure place on site: the hotel swimming pool. An open pit, reinforced with concrete, it's the best place to contain any accidental detonation. This is what an uncontained 500-kilogram explosion can do. So proper storage is critical. But the pool is hemmed in by a drop on one side and the Frontier's asbestos-contaminated wings. The team must punch through one of the wings to transport the massive steel containers to the pool. The sun is already beginning to set as the excavator begins to tear down the wing. They'll need to work through the night to get the steel containers in the pool before the explosives arrive in less than 12 hours. A few hours before daybreak, the excavator finally breaks through. It levels the pool with earth, and the steel containers are lowered into the bottom. As the sun rises, they're now ready for the delivery of the dynamite. The pool has been successfully transformed into an explosive silo.
Yeah, last minute, Michael said it.
But in the hotel, there's a major problem. With just 5 days before demolition, the reinforcing bar is still slowing the drilling team down. And if things don't improve, they'll have a pool full of explosives and nowhere to put them. The demolition plan for the Frontier Casino Hotel has run into a major problem. Dynamite needs to be placed in specially drilled holes in the walls, but massive steel reinforcement, called rebar, is chewing up the drill bits.
What happened is I drilled into the rebar, I drilled through the rebar, and after I got past the rebar, the drill bit now has a lot of drill fines and some drill steel behind it, and it won't pull out now. They're loose, as you can see, but they're stuck in the rebar.
We literally have 4 and 5 layers of rebar on the end of the concrete columns, which is, as far as I'm concerned, is unheard of.
The extra rebar causes 2 major problems. Firstly, the holes take longer to drill. Secondly, it makes the walls stronger than the team initially thought, requiring more explosives and more holes. It costs time the team just does not have. In the world's gambling capital, they're hoping their luck changes.
What do you think we should try and get accomplished today?
Cut cord.
Stacey Loiseau and her sister Devon have just arrived in Vegas. They handle the explosives and are expected to begin loading right away.
Found the beach ball and the thing. It's gonna just sweep, you know?
Is it sweaty already?
It's brand new Pro Max.
Let's look at it.
It's 19,600 feet per second.
What?
Yeah.
19,000?
Yeah.
At 5,800 meters per second, the dynamite is extremely high velocity and contains a high percentage of nitroglycerin. The sticks of dynamite are sweating from the heat, leaking noxious chemicals. But that's not all the team has to deal with. A tour of the site confirms the size of the task ahead. They're getting their first look at the frontier preparation work. They're not impressed.
Yeah, this is ugly.
Yes.
And things are about to get worse.
Got a lot of work to do yet.
A lot of work.
See those funky legs I had to leave?
Yeah.
There's a massive reinforcing in those little areas. And it's not on this side, it's just on that side. So I left it.
I hate these buildings.
See, look at this. Some of them aren't even attached to the floor.
That's monster bar in there.
But there's your splice, and then this one, it comes down, doesn't go into the floor. It just stops. It's dangling.
Well,
I didn't know what to do, so I left it.
okay. Kev?
Yes.
Why aren't these cut out? I mean, was there
Dad
some...
didn't want them cut out.
He wants it... Well, he doesn't want to compromise the fence. I understand that. I mean, look, I can't get...
Yeah,
there's no way to get to that.
Some of them you're going to have to cut.
Another team has already installed chain-link fencing to contain the flying debris, but it's covering most of the holes. Stacey and Devon can't load. Yet another team must cut openings to allow them to place the explosives. More than 5,000 holes. In the meantime, one more team unloads their explosive devices. But unlike the demolition crew, this team don't want to contain their explosions. They want maximum impact. These are the pyrotechnicians. They'll be loading the building with over a ton of fireworks, sending the frontier off Vegas style ahead of the final countdown.
We've done fireworks all over the world, but to do an implosion, to see at the end of that, when this building comes down, it's just something that you don't see every day. It's pretty impressive.
As the demolition team prepares to load, the pyrotechnicians fan out through the building. But dynamite and fireworks could prove to be a dangerous mix.
When we're walking on the same floors that the dynamite is on, that gets a little unnerving. You know, when CDI comes up to us and says, don't step on that, because if you step on it, you could take out the whole building. That just, you know, adds a little bit extra.
Normally, fireworks are triggered from close range, but the demolition climax requires a different approach. So they're going to use expensive remote-controlled electronics to detonate the fireworks. But with the building being demolished, they need to make sure the electronics don't go with it.
We have over $12,000 worth of these devices on the building. We need these close to the building so we could have the fireworks show that we plan on putting on tonight. But the problem is, because this is an implosion, once the building comes down, they'll be buried in the rubble and be destroyed.
To protect the modules, they'll be contained in canisters. Once the demolition begins, the canisters will be ejected from the building like escape pods.
As soon as our fireworks show is over, the first charge that CDI is going to fire will be at cable cutters that will cut the cable and our firing cables that are coming from the barrel and leading to the fireworks. This barrel will now slide down the cable out of harm's way.
At least, that's the plan. Down by the pool, the family's preparing the explosives, inserting detonating cord into over 5,000 sticks of dynamite. In the trade, they're known as pigtails.
Yeah, we're tying knots in cord. No, Kevin and I agree with him, but I mean, our flight was delayed. By the time we got here, trying to load today would sort of be fruitless. We're going to make as many pigtails as we can.
The detonating cord delivers the spark, a small explosion to set off the dynamite. This is what one stick can do. The team completes the dynamite prep. But will the building be ready to load when they return in the morning? Mark's having doubts. The sheer amount of steel rebar in the building remains a serious concern. His plan requires the complete failure of the ground floor walls. But the density of reinforcing bar makes this increasingly unlikely.
We've had problems drilling reinforced CMU before because it's concrete masonry units, concrete blocks, and they put rebar in it, but apparently the rebar they put here was much larger.
Explosions will start at the north end, shattering the reinforced walls and sending them tumbling like dominoes. But if Mark can't conquer the reinforcing bar and cause the walls to fail completely, the building could remain upright, resulting in what's known as a sit-down. Sit-downs have happened before. In 2006, a different demolition company tried to implode a tower block in Pittsburgh. A portion of the building didn't fall, requiring a second set of blasts to finish the job. To ensure that doesn't happen to the frontier, Mark will use an old trick borrowed from the logging industry.
We've got to get it moving. I've got to create a notch here just like you would notch a tree, and you can see the development of this notch back here a little bit. All of this has to go away in the blink of an eye.
In order for the revised plan to work, Mark needs to lay more dynamite. This means drilling more holes. And that's taking a long time.
Craig Keyes is still drilling. Usually he will drill something the order of 100 to 130 holes a day. Yesterday, in 4 hours, he got 4. And I think that probably says it all.
With Craig being delayed by the sheer mass of rebar and time running out, it's time to bring in the heavy artillery.
Right now we're running into a lot of rebar in the building. The lower you go in the building, the more rebar will be encountered. The Toya drill that I use, the handheld drill, is having a really hard time chewing through the rebar. So now we have the track drill going, and it has much easier time.
A track drill is an automated hydraulic drill on Caterpillar tracks with enough power to punch through steel. With the track drill working overtime, Stacy and Devon can finally begin loading the dynamite. But they still only have 2 days to finish the job. And the jagged holes the forward crew are leaving in the fencing make it difficult for Stacy to work wearing gloves. And the sharp metal is cutting her hands.
Stacy gets cut on every project. She's not bleeding, we're not working hard enough. It's just some reaching in and getting caught on these sharp edges. She's tough.
The chain-link fence serves a vital purpose. It stops debris flying off inside the building and hitting other explosives and detonation lines.
The cord has to be protected because it will still be here when the column in front of it goes off. And if concrete were to come over here and fly and cut it, potentially a whole line of holes would not go off. Now we have a lot of explosives in the pile, which is our worst possible scenario.
Since they've had to cut holes in the fencing to load the dynamite, Stacy worries that it'll no longer contain the debris. So everything has to be wrapped in insulating geotextile fabric as a second layer of protection. They also wrap the exterior of the building around the floors that have been loaded with explosives. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 7th and 10th levels. This sheeting will capture any exploding debris, protecting the watching crowds and nearby buildings. The wrapping crews work right behind Stacy. As she finishes a wall, the crew is hot on her heels. She can't slow down.
We're working very fast because there is a 7-man cover crew behind us waiting to have something to do.
And the physical challenges are mounting.
The dynamite we're using here is extremely hot, meaning it's very high velocity. It's over 19,600 feet per second, which means it's got a very heavy nitroglycerin content, which means it's giving us all raging nitroglycerin headaches. So we've all been feeling quite ill since we started working. Horrible headaches, horrible nausea, but we work through it. It's got to get done.
Nitroglycerin isn't just used for explosives. It's also used in medicine to treat high blood pressure, but only in small doses.
It's much warmer here. So it actually weeps a little bit of nitroglycerin, which immediately is absorbed into your pores. And if you consider a heart patient takes a tiny, tiny little pill to dilate their blood vessels so that they're getting more blood to the heart, we're ingesting, absorbing, inhaling tons of this stuff all day, and it really takes its toll on you.
During weeks of work, the team has battled through massive steel bars, acted as peacemakers to billion-dollar property developers, and removed deadly asbestos from interior walls. Over 1.5 tons of fireworks and half a ton of dynamite have been loaded. Finally, they're ready. Now they have to wait and see whether the plan will work. Midnight. The streets of most cities are deserted, but not Las Vegas. They're filling with onlookers ready to watch the end of one of the city's oldest hotels. The police have shut down the strip and set up an exclusion zone. The building is floodlit. The media jostles for position. But inside the hotel, the demolition team is making last-minute checks.
No matter how attentive you are at the time, you get distracted, somebody calls you on the radio, you have to go back and look. That's why we do it. We literally walk and look at every single connection, every piece of tape, everything, every clip to make certain. In fact, we already walked up on 7 and 10, and I did find a half of a panel not clipped on 7. That's why we do this. We are always the last people in the building.
The checks are critical, and working in the dark is dangerous.
What we have on the floor right now is the most sensitive thing that we work with. This detonator right here is an exposed detonator. If someone was to come in here and step on this right now, theoretically, they could set this off, which would start the chain reaction in the wrong place. But still, the entire building would be coming down on our heads within about 8 seconds.
In the darkness, any misstep could spell disaster. But outside, the crowds aren't deterred. In Las Vegas, demolition has become a spectator sport, and even bred its very own superfans. Brian Enan lives and works in Vegas and never gets tired of a good show. He's seen the demolition of the boardwalk, the Desert Inn Parkade, and the Castaway.
Hopefully.
Now he's in the front row for the end of the new frontier.
Trying not to get kicked out by the cops to find a
every time we
spot
turn around, the same cop
watch.
For Brian, it's not just an exciting sideshow, it's also part of the cycle of regeneration.
A new lifeline for Vegas, new revenue, more money. That's what Vegas is all about.
I think anytime we do a shot in Vegas, it's something to stay up for, it's something to come out and see, even though it's at 2:30 in the morning. It's always a little glitzy, you know, it's Vegas, that's what they do. With countdown approaching and people filling the streets, Stacy and Devon worry that the crowd has breached the exclusion zone and are getting too close to the implosion.
Steve, I've got people in this parking lot where I'm standing. Should I have them get back? You know the parking lot where Devin is pulling back to over by the interstate? He says there's several people there with cameras. It's a bad spot.
Okay, but you're within 50 feet of the fence along the Desert Inn Street.
50 feet.
That's all right.
It's now only a few minutes until Mark triggers the explosives to bring down the Frontier Hotel. He coordinates timing between the fireworks and the explosives team. They need to be sure the demolition doesn't start until the last firework has gone off. Mark wires the control box. His wife Sherry stands close, a reliable second set of eyes.
Kevin Class, are you clear?
It's clear, I'm just getting Jason in.
Stacy Loiseau.
Stacy is clear.
Josh Kloss.
For Josh.
Josh, they are going to push the plunger when the box disappears on the face of the building, yes?
That's what.
Okay, Grucci and I are going to run with it.
Everybody, guys, have a good show. If you see anything, just keep it clean on the radio.
1 minute, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
The signal sounds for the fireworks to start. There's now no turning back. Mark sits in wait, steady on the switch. He monitors the progress of the fireworks show to time the warm-up of his blaster, which requires a 10-second charge.
1 minute till the end of the fireworks, 1 minute. "30 seconds, circuit is still monitoring, clear."
Will the explosives bring down the reinforced walls? The team takes a deep breath. It's time.
Here it comes. Watch the fuse coming through.
The first charges release the escape pods belonging to the firework team.
There's the pods coming down.
Then the dynamite in the walls detonates, and the Frontier collapses.
But is it a successful implosion? The team must wait until the dust disappears before they'll know for certain. This is how the demolition worked. First, a series of charges cut loose the firework team's escape pods. Next, the dynamite is detonated in sequence. The frontier collapses from left to right, with the far right wall being pulled by the interior cable back onto the rubble. It's the fall sequence Mark hoped for, and it's spectacular.
Clear to go, all clear. Kevin, how did it look from your side? What did the north end do toward you?
Pretty much what you thought it would do. It looked great.
Okay, Bob Reckel, how about from you? What was the reaction in the VIP area? Did they like the show?
It would appear to be so.
This shot was absolutely great. Loud, as I knew it would be. A lot of powder, a lot of cord going off, but again, seamless coordination between the fireworks folks, Garucci, and us, and it's beautiful. Everybody's thrilled.
Mark's pleased with another job well done.
The north end, I was concerned about stacking up a little bit, and you can see that's the highest part of the debris pile there. It's probably up about 30, 35 feet, but that's still about 7 feet lower than the reach of his big machine, so I haven't seen Josh Kloss yet. He'll be very happy.
The dust cloud drifts towards the neighboring buildings. But it's moving, it's thinning, and it's manageable. And at the Trump Tower, not a window is broken.
Good job.
Oh, well, thanks, sweetie. It went well. I'm pleased. Was it loud enough for you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The cleanup crew fans out across the strip, chasing the dust with an army of water trucks and street sweepers. They'll scrub Vegas clean, and by morning, the city will shine in the sun, ready for the next new hotel casino to rise from the ashes.
Well, she's been hassled by hoteliers and persecuted by pubes. Alex Polizzi returns with a new series of The Hotel Inspector, Monday at 9. Next, who put the drug in the jug? Patrick tries not to be distracted by the sights at a women-only country club. The Mentalist in just a mo.